Okay, so here's part two. I just talked about the first issues for our buffet. Again, these are pick five, and you get one of the Vertigo compilation books as well for $5. So it's a whole bunch of first issue samples for $5. And we also, part of our buffet, is we have some graphic novel sets, first and second volumes together. Uh, so we have Black Magic, Black Science, which I mentioned. Bunker was one from Oni Press that was pretty cool. It's basically these. Um, oh, what the hell happens in this book? What do you call the thing where time capsule? They find a time capsule. Um, no, they're going to bury a time capsule, and they end up finding a bunker while they're digging. And in that bunker, they discover all kinds of things about their future selves. It's really bizarre. If you're into stuff like Lost, I would definitely check that out. Chew, very popular kind of procedural crime comedy. It takes place in a world where chicken is outlawed, and he is a chibopath. It means that he can see the history of certain items or people or food if he eats them. So it's kind of gross sometimes. Deadly Class I mentioned. Again, these sets are $10, so it's basically you're getting $5. $5 a book for each graphic novel for the first two volumes. I talked about Descender already, volume 1 and 2 of that. East and West, really fantastic science fiction Western series by Jonathan Hickman. I really enjoy this series. There's Fatale. We got the first two volumes of the more recent Hit Girl series. Ice Cream Man, which I had mentioned. Kill or Be Killed, which I had mentioned. Lazarus. Manifest Destiny. There's Nailbiter. Okay, Outcast is the other book by Robert Kirkman. It's about... this is revolving around exorcisms. Actually, I haven't read that yet. We got Port of Earth. Science fiction book by kind of a local writer who's been doing a bunch of stuff in the last few years, Zach Kaplan. Prophet was one of my favorite science fiction image books from back in the day. If you kind of like crazier, wild European science fiction with just gorgeous artwork, I love Simon Roy. All these guys actually are really cool. Let's see if you can see this. Focus. Brandon Graham, Simon Roy, Farrell Dalrymple, I forgot how to say his name, and then Milo Giannis. All good artists. Really cool. Got Pretty Deadly 1 and 2, and like I said, 3 just came out. We got Rat Queens Volume 1 and 2. This is essentially for Dungeons and Dragons fans. If you have a good sense of humor about it. So if you're listening to the Adventure Zone podcast, or if you can imagine sort of like Dungeons and Dragons with a super bad style tone to it. The realm was really cool. This is essentially Walking Dead, but with fantasy characters. So imagine if the world went to poop, post-apocalyptic style, but it was because it was dragons and goblins and wizards and all sorts of other things. So it's a survivalist book with a fantasy twist. I haven't read Royal City, nor do I know what it's about. But this is another book by Jeff Lemire, who is just a superstar. Is Sweet Tooth, Essex County. I like him a lot. Rumble is one of my personal favorite books. I don't know how to recommend. I don't know how to. It's just a lot of monsters, and it's got gorgeous artwork by James Herron. I just think he's one of the best artists working in the business. And these guys did a lot of the BPRD run together, which is a Hellboy sister book. Highly recommended for quirky if you're looking for something different. Sex Criminals I talked about. Shudder was another one that was really popular when it came out, but I don't know much about it. I do think it's kind of more of a fantasy style book. We got Southern Bastards. Wayward is pretty cool. It's essentially Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but in Japan. So if you're into kind of that Buffy vibe, but a completely different locale and different folklore, check out Wayward. And Wicked and Divine, which I didn't really get a chance to talk about in the other video, but it's Karen Gillan. This is dark fantasy meets pop music. Has to do with gods and goddesses that are essentially like embodiments of really popular music archetypes, like David Bowie or Kanye West. Okay, so that's it. This one was a little bit short because I didn't have quite as much to talk about. So again, we will have these listed for future reference. so you don't have to refer to the video. This is more just me talking about it and recommendations. But again, these are sets of volumes 1 and 2, and you get both of them together for $10. So great way, cheap way to try a new series that maybe you've heard of, but you haven't given it a shot yet. And again, that goes along with the rest of our buffet. That's the graphic novel buffet. And then we got the comic book buffet, where you can pick 5 of these. And again, we'll have them all listed on the website. I'll put a link in the description. And 5 of these plus 1 of these, which are also listed on there. And they'll tell you which issues are inside each one. Like this one has DMZ and Scalped in it. And this one has Why Last Man, Transmet, 100 Bullets. That's a good one. And yeah. And depending on where your tastes lie, if it looks like you're way into science fiction books or horror books, we might throw in a couple of maybe a bonus thing if it seems like you'd be the right audience for it. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. If you want to go ahead and get started on an order or request, please email us at pulpfictiononline@hotmail.com or give us a call during our regular store hours, and we'd be happy to talk to you there as well. Okay, that's enough for today. I'm going to go home. I will see you guys tomorrow.